Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on Sunday morning. I hope the weekend is going well. You're enjoying the sunshine over here in the UK or wherever you are watching this in the world. I just wanted to do this video today to really talk about Emiliano Buendia. I'm sure you've all seen what's happened in the last 24 hours or so. I reported last night that Aston Villa had moved into the pole position to sign Emiliano Buendia, and then not long after, it appears that deal has pretty much been wrapped up, just waiting for the confirmation that may well come. By the time you're watching this video, it might already have come, because it's expected imminently that Emiliano Buendia is going to be an Aston Villa player. Which obviously comes as a bit of a blow to Arsenal, because he's a player that they have tracked for a long, long time. He's a player they wanted. Make no mistake about that. They did want to sign him this summer. They were in the running for him. But they just didn't really pursue it hard enough. Certainly not like Aston Villa did. And ultimately, Aston Villa paid the money, or got very, very close to the sort of money that Norwich wanted for their star man. And Arsenal never did. And that is why he's going to end up being an Aston Villa player for the next 4 or 5 years, whatever it is, when that contract is announced with Buendia. So I just wanted to talk about that, really look about what's next. What are Arsenal going to do? They want a creative player this summer. Buendia was one of the players right at the top of the list. They didn't get him, so what's next, really? What is the situation with the sort of attacking midfield forward target for Arsenal this summer? And just going into Buendia, I have to admit, I've still never had it confirmed ever that Arsenal actually made a bid for Buendia. Obviously, there's lots of reports that they did make a bid, so I'm sure they did, but it's a weird one. The whole thing has been a little bit shrouded in mystery in terms of Arsenal's interest in Buendia. I've had very mixed signals from different people that I've spoken to who have been in and around this deal. And everyone I've spoken to, I've never actually had it confirmed that Arsenal did make an official offer. Yes, they were certainly talking in terms of Buendia's people and Norwich about getting this deal done, but I've still never actually had it 100% confirmed that Arsenal did make an official offer to Norwich for Buendia. I'm sure they did. There's so many people that are reporting that they did, so obviously it's just something that has not been confirmed to me. But I think that is also the sort of issue that even if they did make that initial bid, they never got close to what Aston Villa ended up offering for him, and that is why he's going to be an Aston Villa player now. They just wanted it a little bit more, and whether that ends up being a mistake for Arsenal, only time will tell. It's going to be a bit nerve-wracking, I think, watching Buendia next season for Aston Villa, because if he does come into the Premier League and tear it up a little bit, start scoring those goals, start setting up plenty of goals for Ollie Watkins, then it's going to be a bit hard for Arsenal fans to watch, I think, given how long the club were interested in him for. I mean, they could have got him last summer for peanuts, really, when Norwich got relegated. Everyone opted to let him have a season at Norwich, did what he did in the Championship. Now that value has absolutely rocketed to the sort of 35, 40 million pound mark, which this deal has happened for. And yeah, it's just one of those ones. You always worry when you miss out on signings, don't you? You always worry, oh no, is this going to come back to haunt us? Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. We're just going to have to wait and see. But I like what I've seen from Buendia. I haven't seen loads of him, I have to admit. But I like what I see from him, and he feels like a type of player who could come in and make a big impact in the Premier League next season. So it's going to be interesting to see how he gets on for Aston Villa. So what could be next for Arsenal? Now it's not going to be Emiliano Buendia. What could happen? Now, the priority has always been Martin Odegaard for Arsenal. Mikel Arteta loves Martin Odegaard. He wants him back. He's made no secret of that. Arsenal have made no secret of that. I remember after the game against Brighton, when he was asked about it, when Odegaard starred in that final game of the season at home, and Mikel was asked about bringing Odegaard back, and he spoke about it. Said it's out of our hands. He's not our player. We're going to have to wait and see what happens in the summer. But hopefully we've done enough to convince him that this is a good place for him to play his football. He's made a big impression since he arrived in January, Martin Odegaard, and Arsenal want to get him back. And whether that's why they decided to not really push the boat out for Buendia and match what Aston Villa were offering, then we'll have to wait and see. Because if you're going to sign Odegaard certainly on a permanent basis, I suggest you're going to have to go a lot higher than the money it's cost Aston Villa to sign Emiliano Buendia. You're going to have to probably go, I don't know, and this is just hypothetical. It's me presuming that Madrid would probably want certainly around the 50 million for Martin Odegaard. Whether Arsenal can get him back on a loan for another season, that might be another option. But that's certainly something that Arsenal are going to be pursuing, and I'm sure they're pursuing it right now as well with Odegaard. Obviously, the Euros is going to be a bit of an issue with that as well, because he's and players and technical directors are all over the place looking at different players and at the tournament, so it's going to be difficult to get deals done before the Euros. It can happen, as we've seen with Aston Villa, if they get this one over the line, which they probably will do imminently. But certainly Odegaard has always been the priority for Arsenal, and that's something they're going to really try and get done this summer if they can. But like I said, it'll be interesting to see if that is the reason why they didn't push the boat out for Buendia. Only time will tell on that one. Another player that they like, who plays in that sort of creative area, is Nabil Fekir, who I reported on a while back Arsenal's interest in him. He's over in Spain at the moment with Betis. Would absolutely be keen on a move, not just to Arsenal, but to the Premier League. He missed out on his big move to Liverpool before. Has gone over to Spain, done pretty well for Betis. I think he's a player that Arsenal have been watching in the past and holding interest in. Whether they would sort of firm up that interest now and move on to him as an alternative to Buendia, I don't know. I would suggest probably. I feel like as I said, Odegaard's the priority. I'm not sure. Just because you don't get Buendia, I don't think you're going to necessarily go and spend all that money. Then you'd probably have to spend around £20 million, I imagine, to get Fekir out of Betis. So he's another option. It's someone they could turn to. There's someone they have been watching and shown an interest in, but feels unlikely to me, that one. And then you've got obviously Houssem, who was the tale of Arsenal's summer last season, or last summer. It was this story that went on and on and on. Could they get him? Will they get him? Will Lyon let him go? In the end, he stayed with Lyon for the season. Jean-Michel Aulas playing very hardball when it came to Arsenal in their pursuit of Houssem last summer. Didn't have the best of seasons, maybe because of what went on last summer. Maybe his head was turned, maybe his head wasn't necessarily in it. He did all right. I think he scored 7 goals for Lyon this season, and Lyon were in and around it in the title race in France, but perhaps not the season that everyone was expecting from Houssem, given the trajectory that his career was on. And that is possibly why it seems from a report from France that Lyon would be willing to potentially let him go relatively cheap this summer, certainly a lot cheaper than Arsenal tried to get him for last year. Now, Arsenal did bid for Aouar last year. That bid was rejected out of hand. They didn't go back in with any other further bids, didn't get near to Lyon's valuation, which at the time was around the sort of 45, 50 million pound mark for Houssem Aouar. Reports in France, L'Equipe reporting that Aouar possibly would be available for about half that price this summer. So that could be, potentially, and I've not heard that Arsenal have rekindled their interest in Houssem at all. I'm just looking at what could be next in the coming weeks, coming months at the transfer window as they look to add a little bit of creativity. Aouar, before his last game of the season, he said, "Look, this could be my last match at Lyon, but it could also not be. I do not ask myself these sort of questions before an important match like this. I have not played as much as I would have liked this season. I struggled to come back after COVID. I had a pretty mixed season. I've improved in terms of managing injury. I'm happy with my statistics in the last few games. So it's been a mixed season, but I feel good." So he's not really too sure what his future holds. He's dropped out of the reckoning for the France international team this season. I think he's playing for the under-23s actually, or the under-21s at the Euros, isn't he? And so he could be another option for Arsenal. Do you sort of go back in for Houssem Aouar again? It's certainly one that could be on the agenda. There are other very out there suggestions at the moment. Like, I think the player I've been asked about more than anyone so far in the weeks leading up to this transfer window and since the window is open is Jack Grealish. Can we sign Jack Grealish? Is Jack Grealish going to happen? And it's just not. I mean, look, I would love. This is one of those things when if you say something, you get it wrong, and then everyone reminds you about it for ever and ever and ever. Like my classic, Arsenal aren't going to sign Nicolas Pepe, they can't afford him, and then they go and sign him, and that tweet has been thrown at me time and time again ever since that. That tweet was based on good information at the time, by the way, and I would love this to be correct as well, but Arsenal are not going to sign Jack Grealish. I just can't see it. And this is not based on any news I've got or any fact or any inside knowledge on the situation. They're just not going to be able to afford him. They haven't pushed the boat out signing Emiliano Buendia for 35, 40 million pounds. Jack Grealish, brand new long-term contract, captain of Aston Villa. You are talking 100 million pounds to get Jack Grealish out of Aston Villa, I think. Villa in such, it's just not going to happen. So it's just not. You can get excited about it if you want. People can think, oh, we've not signed Buendia because we're going to sign Jack Grealish from Aston Villa. Just please don't get your expectations or your hopes up about that one. It's just not going to happen. Again, I would love to be wrong, because I think if I had to pick one player to go to Arsenal this summer, it'd be Jack Grealish. So I'm desperate to be wrong on that one, but it's just not going to happen. It's really not. And there's Aaron Ramsey's been mentioned as well as a potential swap deal for Hector Bellerin. People saying, are we going to get Rambo back? Again, I don't see it. You don't not give him a contract and then you sign him back a couple of years later, and his injury record hasn't been great in Italy. He's approaching his 30s now. It's just, again, that Ramsey's been and gone. I love Aaron Ramsey, but no, not for me. I think that one has been and gone as well. So they're the sort of more out there suggestions that are going to cost an awful lot of money. I think it's just, not going to happen. Personally, there is another option as well that I think, do Arsenal actually need to buy another creative midfielder? I'm just throwing this out here. I'm sure plenty of you think yes, they should. But for me, Emil Smith-Rowe, absolutely, I wouldn't want to see someone come in and really knock Emil Smith-Rowe out of the team. I think he has to start next season as number 10 and have a real good go in the first half of the season. I think he'll score more goals next season. Clearly, that was the one issue with him since he came in over Christmas. I don't think he scored enough goals. I think he will score. That will be something he adds to his game next season, because he has ability to score goals, no doubt about it. And I think he will score plenty if he gets a chance next season. So Smith-Rowe's already there. You've got Saka, who can play at number 10. Definitely, he's good enough to play at number 10. He can play anywhere, Bukayo Saka. You've got the option of Joe Willock as well, who's kind of been left out in all of this. You think of the goals he scored for Newcastle and the records that he broke while he was up there, the form he showed. He's got to come back and come into the equation. If you're not going to sell Joe Willock, then you have to give him opportunities to play. And he played at number 10 for Newcastle, and that's where he thrived and scored those goals, and goals that Arsenal didn't get from midfield last season. So that's another option for Arsenal as well. Do you really need to go and if you're not getting Buendia, do you have to go and spend the money elsewhere? Couldn't you just keep it, have the option of Smith-Rowe, Willock, Saka, and spend the money elsewhere on a central midfielder if you want to go and push the boat out to get a full-on proper partner for Thomas Partey? On a right back, add an extra 20 million to the transfer kitty to go out and sign a proper top quality right back to fill the void there. Centre back as well. If you're going to go and get another right-sided centre back, use the money to do that. There's so many things that Arsenal need to do in the transfer window. Just because they haven't got Buendia doesn't necessarily mean they have to go out and sign another creative player, because there are options in the squad who can play that role. So it's just one to throw out there. I'm sure you're probably all going to disagree with me and say you've got to go out and sign someone. As always on videos, please do leave your comments below and let me know what you think on this one. Do Arsenal need to go out and bring in another number 10 type player? Do they need to get someone because they've not signed Buendia? Or do they absolutely throw their trust in Smith-Rowe as their out and out number 10 next season, with the likes of Saka and Joe Willock providing him as sort of fallback options if needs be, if Smith-Rowe gets injured or anything like that. Remember, there's no European football next season. Arsenal are going to be playing on a weekly basis. There aren't too many games. There's not going to be that much rotation next season. So it's not like you have to have 2 players for every single position. There's got to be sort of players who can cover in various roles as well. If you had the Europa League to worry about, potentially, yes, you've got to have a bigger squad. The squad has to be smaller this year, there's no doubt about it. So I don't think it's absolutely a given that you've got to go and bring in someone else just because you haven't managed to get that deal for Buendia done. That's about it. That was what this video is about. Just a look at the Buendia situation and what could be next for Arsenal, what the possible options are. And as always, please let me know what you think. Thank you for watching, everyone. I do appreciate your time as always, wherever you are watching this around the world. Enjoy your weekend. I'll speak to you very, very soon.